She looked me dead in the eyes that night and said, "I don't want anything serious." Her tone was light, almost teasing, like she was giving me a gift instead of a warning. We were lying on her old brown couch, pizza crusts on the coffee table, some indie film playing in the background that neither of us were watching. She was in my hoodie, the one she used to steal whenever she came over, her bare legs folded under her like she owned the place. Like she owned me. And I remember laughing. Not because it was funny, but because I was relieved. I'd just come out of a rough breakup and wasn't looking for anything deep either. "Same here," I said. No labels, no pressure. She nodded, smiled, tapped her fingers on my chest like she was playing chords I didn't know the tune to yet. "Cool," she whispered. "Let's just enjoy each other." And that was that. Our unspoken contract. Except that wasn't that. If I'm being honest, painfully, quietly honest, I started falling for her anyway. Not right away, not like lightning, but slowly, over time, the way snow covers a driveway overnight while you're asleep. It started with her laugh. God, it was unfiltered joy, the kind that made you laugh too, even if you didn't catch the joke. Then came the way she made coffee. Way too strong, way too sweet. The notes she left in my glove box when she borrowed my car. The time she met my sister and spent an hour showing her how to braid her hair. We weren't serious, but she was stitching herself into my life thread by thread. I never said anything. I didn't want to break the spell. Or worse, scare her away. She had this way of pulling back when things felt too real, like she was allergic to permanence. But still, she stayed. She came over more. She knew my Netflix password, had a toothbrush in my bathroom, and her name was the only one lighting up my phone past midnight. So yeah, I thought we were something. Not in title, but in truth. That illusion lasted 8 months. Then came that weekend. She'd been distant all week, distracted, her replies shorter, her eyes a little too careful. I asked if she was okay. She said work was crazy. I believed her. I wanted to. That Saturday, we were supposed to drive upstate. Just a day trip, nothing major. I had the playlist ready, snacks packed, even cleaned the car. But she canceled last minute. Texted, not called. Said something came up. I almost didn't think twice. Almost. But something didn't sit right. Maybe it was the way she didn't use an emoji, or how she didn't ask to reschedule. So, I did something I'm not proud of. I checked her location. She'd shared it with me weeks before during a night out when we got separated at a concert. Neither of us ever turned it off. She wasn't home. She wasn't at work. She was across town, a residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. I should have let it go. I should have respected her privacy, her boundaries, her right to not owe me anything. But I didn't. I drove there, parked half a block away, told myself I wasn't going to do anything. Just confirm. The house was nothing special. A brick duplex with a small front yard. There were toys scattered across the lawn, a tricycle, a red ball, and a car in the driveway. Hers, parked right behind another. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. And then I saw her. She stepped out onto the porch with a man, tall, well-dressed, maybe mid-30s. He had a baby in one arm and a diaper bag slung over his shoulder. She laughed, reached out, and adjusted something on the baby's hat. Then she kissed the man on the cheek. Not a peck. Not a goodbye. It was soft. Familiar. Intimate. I don't remember driving home. I remember my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I remember the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. But most of all, I remember that hollow, sinking feeling that comes when the puzzle you thought you were putting together turns out to be someone else's picture. She texted me later that night. Said she missed me. Sent a photo of a wine glass and a blanket. Like she was home, curled up, thinking of me. I didn't respond. Not immediately. I sat there on my couch, the same one we used to share, staring at that message and feeling like the biggest fool in the world. She said she didn't want anything serious. So why was she planning a baby with someone else? Because that's what it looked like. A baby. A life. A whole world she never once mentioned. And suddenly, everything made sense. The way she avoided sleepovers during the week. The weekends she claimed to be visiting family. The unexplained hours. The gentle deflections whenever I asked too much. I wasn't the main act. I was the intermission. The worst part? I wasn't even angry. Not yet. I was confused. Numb. Like my brain hadn't caught up to the betrayal. I needed answers. Not to scream, not to accuse. Just to understand. Because love, even in its most casual form, deserves honesty. Right? I waited 2 days before I called her. Long enough to calm down. Long enough to stop shaking. But not so long that I lost the nerve. My voice, when I finally spoke, was quieter than I expected. Not cold. Not angry. Just tired. Hey, I said. Can we talk? She hesitated. I could hear it. That small beat of silence before she answered. Of course, she said, cheerful, unaware. Want to come over? No. Your place isn't really neutral. Another pause. Then she laughed, trying to smooth it over. All right, mystery man. Coffee shop? I named one halfway between us. Public, safe. The kind of place where no one could yell without people staring. She agreed. We picked 5 p.m. I got there early. Sat by the window. Watched every car that pulled into the lot, wondering which version of her I was going to see. The woman who wore my hoodie and kissed me slow, or the stranger with a secret life and a child I never met. She arrived 10 minutes late. That felt like something, too. She walked in like nothing was wrong. No shame, no guilt. Just that same soft smile, that same tilt of the head she used when she wanted something. Hey you, she said, sitting across from me like it was any other day. You look tired. I nodded. Didn't sleep much. She frowned. Work stuff? I leaned back. Studied her. I drove by somewhere Saturday. She blinked. Okay. A duplex. East side. Toys on the lawn. Your car in the driveway. The change was instant. Like a switch flipped inside her. Her face didn't fall. Not completely. But something shifted behind her eyes. A subtle tightening. A flicker of defense. You followed me? She asked. No, I said. I checked your location. The one you gave me. She looked away, stared at the steam rising from her untouched drink. You weren't supposed to. I wasn't supposed to know, you mean? She didn't answer. I took a breath. Is it yours? The baby? She nodded. Not biologically, but yeah, in every way that matters. And him? I asked. She met my eyes. We used to be together. A long time ago. Before you. But we still co-parent, I guess. It's complicated. I laughed quietly. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. You think that's the complicated part? She sighed. Look, I didn't lie. I told you from the beginning. I didn't want anything serious. You're right, I said. You did. But you also let me fall for you. You let me think I was the only one in the picture. I didn't know how to explain it, she said. You were easy, comfortable. And he and I, we're not together. Not romantically. It's just, he's the father of my kid. That's it. But you kissed him. Her face flushed. You saw that? I saw everything. She leaned forward, voice soft, almost pleading. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just wanted something light. You were the only part of my life that didn't come with baggage. I shook my head slowly. That's the thing, though. You used me as an escape, not a partner. Silence sat between us like a third person at the table. She reached for her cup, but didn't drink. I didn't plan any of this. I wasn't playing a game. You were planning something, I said. You were planning a life with him. Maybe not in the fairy tale way, but still. And I was the background music. I wasn't sure what I wanted, she whispered. I stared at her. That's the only honest thing you've said so far. She flinched at that. I think she wanted me to yell, to break something, to call her names. That would have made it easier for her to walk away, to pin me as the bitter one. But I stayed calm. Because beneath all of this, the betrayal, the lies, was a part of me still in love with the idea of her. And I hated that. She spoke again, this time quieter. You're a good man. Maybe too good. I think I knew from the start I didn't deserve you. No, I said. You just didn't choose me. Her eyes welled up, but no tears fell. She wasn't the crying type. Neither was I. We just sat there, two people who wanted different things, pretending we ever fit in the same story. I stood up. I won't make a scene. I won't blow up your life. But I'm done. She nodded, slowly, then whispered, I never meant to be cruel. But you were, I said, even if you didn't mean to be. I left her sitting there, hands wrapped around a warm cup she no longer seemed to notice. As I stepped outside, the cold air hit my skin like a wake-up call. I walked to my car in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat behind the wheel and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, trying to remember who I was before I met her. And for the first time in months, I felt something close to clarity. She said she didn't want anything serious. But someone who really doesn't want anything serious doesn't build a secret second life behind your back. This wasn't casual. It was cowardice, dressed in charm. The silence that followed that coffee shop conversation was unlike any silence I'd known before. It wasn't peaceful, not at first. It was the kind of silence that echoes, the kind that fills a room like smoke, hanging in the corners long after the fire's out. She didn't text me after that. I didn't reach out either. I deleted her number, her photos, even the playlist we built together, the one filled with songs that used to feel like ours. That was the hardest part, oddly enough. The music, it lingered longer than she did. It took me a week to clear her things from my apartment. A half-used bottle of shampoo. Her book, dog-eared halfway through. That hoodie, my hoodie, still carrying the faintest scent of her perfume. I sat with it in my lap for almost an hour before I tossed it into the donation pile. I thought closure would come in some dramatic wave, like a final door slamming or a cathartic breakdown. But it didn't. It came slowly, like frost melting off a windshield. Tiny patches of clarity revealing themselves a little more each day. The truth is, I wasn't just mourning her. I was mourning the version of myself I was with her. The man who thought love, even casual love, was enough to make someone stay. The man who believed that quiet commitment, even without a label, could still mean something sacred. There were moments, late at night, mostly, where I wondered if I'd misunderstood the whole thing. Maybe I read too much into her laugh, her texts, the way she squeezed my hand when we crossed the street. Maybe I filled in gaps she never meant to promise. But then I'd remember the kiss. Not ours, theirs. I'd see the curve of her body leaning toward him, the way her hand touched the baby's back like it was muscle memory, not obligation. That wasn't casual. That was home, and I was just the hotel. She had every right to live her life the way she wanted. I'm not angry at that. Not anymore. I'm angry at the pretense. The part she edited out. The truth she wrapped in vague phrases like, it's complicated, and I didn't want to hurt you. But here's the thing I've come to realize. When someone says they don't want anything serious, listen. Not because they're warning you, but because they're protecting themselves. She wasn't lying when she said it. She just didn't expect me to matter. I ran into her once, months later. It was at a bookstore of all places. I was in the travel section, pretending to plan a trip I'd never take. And there she was, holding a picture book, her little boy in tow. He was older now, a little taller. He looked up at her like she hung the moon. She saw me. Our eyes met for just a second. She didn't smile. Neither did I. There was no confrontation. No awkward wave. Just two people who once shared something unnamed, now strangers once more. I left without buying anything. I didn't look back. You don't need closure when the ending is that clear. Some days, I still think about her. Not in a yearning way, but in the way you think about a fire after it's gone out. The heat that once warmed you, the smoke that choked you, the ashes that proved it was real. I've dated since then. Nothing serious. Funny, isn't it? That phrase has changed meaning for me. Not because I'm scared, but because I'm more honest now. With others. With myself. If someone says they don't want depth, I believe them. If they say they're not ready, I step back. And if they come with shadows in their eyes and too many answers missing, I don't try to become their light. I've learned that some people aren't lying. They're just hiding. And love can't grow in the dark. I don't hate her. That's the strange part. I thought I would. But hate takes energy, and I've finally stopped spending mine on people who don't see me. She once said I was easy. She meant it as a compliment. But now I know better. I wasn't easy. I was available. I was consistent. Present. Willing. And someday, someone will look at those things and see value, not convenience. Until then, I'm healing. Slowly. Quietly. And every now and then, when I pass by that old coffee shop, I don't flinch anymore. I just keep walking. Because I may have been her intermission, but I'm still someone's main story.